Welcome back to the MANN channel. Alright, so today's video is going to be the 10th edition to the Wakeboat ownership series, and in today's video I'm going to discuss trailer maintenance. If you haven't checked out my other videos in the Wakeboat ownership series, I'll put a link right above me so you can get to that series. That series contains the most popular videos on my channel, so you might want to check it out. Most people who are going to own a wakeboat are going to need a boat trailer, and boat trailers require maintenance as well. So what I'm going to cover with you as far as trailer maintenance are those items that I've learned over the years are important to keep your eye on and take care of to make sure that you avoid any mishaps going down the road or even launching your boat, those types of things. Okay, so first up on the list is taking care of your tires. And the first thing I like to keep an eye on is my tire tread wear. So you can tell that when the tread gets far enough down to where there almost isn't any tread anymore, you're pretty much about ready for new tires. And on a triple axle trailer, especially with boat trailers, because you're making turns at the boat ramp, you might be making turns to park it, whatever it may be. It really rubs the insides of those back tires. So your back tires are going to wear first, and then your middle tires and the front tires wear last. So you want to keep an eye on tire tread. So I basically showed you an example of one that's pretty well worn, but still has some life, and then one that's brand new. The next thing would be tire pressure. So I like to keep an eye on my tire pressure because those can fluctuate throughout the year. You definitely want to get your tire pressure correct for the beginning of the year because they let out some air throughout the off season. And my tires are rated for 65 pounds, so I'm gonna want to make sure that they're at least above 60. And it looks like this tire actually does need a few pounds of pressure. So I usually end up topping off my tires about 3 or 4 times a summer, or at least checking on them quite frequently throughout the summer to make sure that they're staying full. So the next thing is your trailer jack. So I've actually had to, on this particular trailer, I've actually already had to re-grease the screw on this, and you actually can take the cap off the top, and then the lever mechanism is right there, and you can grease that. But to grease the screw, you're gonna actually have to unscrew 4 from that cap off, so it pulls the whole lever gear out, and then it pulls the screw out with it, and then you're going to want to get some more marine grease on that screw, and generally you just do that if it's starting to feel tight. You just wouldn't want your trailer jack to fail. You could always use your truck's jack in place of your trailer jack if it did fail, but just something to keep on top of. So the next thing to keep your eye on is your bunk boards and the bolts, and really any bolts on your trailer. These bolts right here can get loose, and if they get loose, it can cause your bunks to be loose as well, and it will cause excess damage on your bunk boards. And worst case scenario, you actually have bunk boards that are so worn that the bunk bolts are sticking through, and that will definitely damage your boat. So I try to look at my trailer, I try to give my trailer a little look over when I am backing off of it with the boat. And if I notice anything that doesn't look right, I'll ask my driver of the truck to take a closer look before they come down and get on the boat. Let me know if there's anything wrong with the bunks. But you just generally want to make sure beyond that you're checking any bolts on a periodic basis to make sure things are staying tight. Because if you go down the road as much as I do, which is every weekend, 2 hours one way, So that's 4 hours of trailering every weekend, not to mention going back and forth, dropping the boat in the water every day. Then you're gonna probably experience a loose bolt every once in a while. And I've actually had these bolts right under the fender get really loose before on my 2017 23 LSV. So I had to, and I actually lost a bolt, so I had to put a new bolt on there and get those tightened up. So then you want to make sure that your straps are in good enough condition to not break. So I always try to keep an eye on my strap for the front of the boat. And I also always try to keep my eye on the straps for the back of the boat. If one is starting to get a tear in it, that's really the time to replace it. They'll start to get frayed over time, but really when they start getting a tear in it, that's where you want to replace it, because you're actually tightening these down with quite a bit of pressure. A little tear will cause it to break at some point in time. I actually had a boat at one point in time that I was tightening it against the front stop, and my strap broke because it had a small tear in it. And you can simply tie it, take what's left and tie it through the hole of that hook. But just want to keep that, you just want to keep an eye on those things, because you wouldn't want that to happen when you're going down the road. And because you have 3 straps, I mean, you probably wouldn't have a catastrophic failure, but you wouldn't want your boat to be jumping around and possibly causing damage somewhere on the boat. One of the things that I forgot to film, but I do think that you should keep an eye on as well, is your trailer lights. You want to make sure that your running lights, your brake lights, your blinkers, and your reverse lights are all functioning. And that would be more or less to make sure that you're being safe on the road, making sure nobody runs into the back of you, making sure you're signaling properly. Another thing to keep an eye on is your wheel bearings. So one of the things you can do to check your wheel bearings is jack up each wheel. And you can do them one at a time, and just make sure that they can freely spin. There shouldn't be any weird stopping, or it shouldn't stop itself very quickly, and that would indicate that your wheel bearings are good. If you heard any squeaking or rattling, or it was stopping itself, that might indicate your bearings are bad. And it could be a possibility that you might have a problem with your brakes as well. So this is a good way to check your brakes. And generally, you need to refer to your owner's manual to make sure that your wheel bearings are up to date. I believe the wheel bearings that are on this, you just replace every so often. And I can't remember the mileage on them, but your owner's manual should tell you that. Or if you can just look up the brand of trailer that you have, and it should tell you what you're supposed to be doing with your bearings. Some trailers come with bearings that actually have a grease zerk on them, and you're supposed to grease them on a regular basis. But I believe that these Volt bearings you actually replace after so many hours or miles on the trailer. And I mentioned brakes. It is a good idea to keep your eye on your brakes. One of the ways you can tell if your brakes are failing is if it feels like your trailer's not stopping. It feels like your truck's doing most of the work. The other way is if you have weird wear spots on your tires where basically it looks like the tire locked up and it skidded for a little while. I had a trailer that was doing that at one point in time, and the brakes were engaging incorrectly. So I actually had to do some work on the brakes. The brake setup and the surge brake setup on the trailer. So keep in mind, if it feels like your truck's doing most of the work for your brakes, or if you're finding weird skid spots on your tires, chances are you need to maintenance your brakes or do some work on your brakes. All right, so I hope the things I've covered in this video help you out with taking care of your boat trailer. Keep your eye out for more videos, as I have several more videos planned for the Wakeboat ownership series. Otherwise, that is it for this video. So if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you have any thoughts on this video or ideas for future videos, please leave them in the comments below. And if you're new to the channel, please subscribe and hit that notifications bell so you can be notified of my future videos. I'll see you next week.